Today, Matt and I are breaking down 10 top prospects that can potentially get a call up over the next few weeks and make an impact for your fantasy baseball team on your championship stretch on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, is my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arnay. And you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Adney. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And all right, Matt, actually, you know, the funniest thing is as we were pulling this show together, we actually got a huge call up. And if you were rocking with us on Subtext, you got that notification, as did one of our Listener League members who beat me to the punch by about 3 seconds. Shout out to our listeners there. Everyone in Listener League, that's been super fun. We're down to the Final Four. Been a great battle. Hopefully I can pull that one out for the podcast here. But Matt, let's not tease the open anymore. Matt, who got called up? Let's tell the people.
All right, it's Jason Dominguez. You know, my guy, the Martian, has landed yet again. Let's hope his, elbow just, doesn't explode this time around after having a monster week. Luckily in our league, the one bozo just decided to hold him all year. So he will not be in the playoffs. So he will not be going against either of us. So we're fine. But Jason Dominguez, let me go on a serious note, as I was trying to find an awesome drop that I just couldn't pull off, is going to be a fantasy force. If you saw what he did last year before he, obviously his elbow decided to explode like a firecracker on 4th of July, he had 31 at-bats, 6 runs, a double, 4 bombs, 7 ribs, a stolen base, batted .258, had an OBP of 303, a slug of 677, and an OPS of 980. Kid is a monster. This year in the minors, repeated in another monster season, and even took a step forward in power, in my opinion. 226 at-bats, 43 runs, 8 doubles, a triple, 11 bombs, 35 ribs, 16 stolen bases, 22 walks of 50 strikeouts, 314 batting average, a 376 OBP, a 504 slug, and an 880 OPS. And why I say he took a step forward in power? So in 2023, before getting the call, he had 15 home runs through 456 at-bats. He now has 11 through 226. So my guy is looking better than ever and ready to take the bigs by storm. So Jason Dominguez is an ultimate smash. That Yankee lineup is rolling and grooving, and I am super excited to have Jason Dominguez everywhere I go. And the best part is, if this will ever load, is his ownership percentage, which I hope Dom has, since my Wi-Fi sucks. It is 25%. I finally got it. So at 25%, he could be the difference maker between a championship. Let's put it this way. Last year, he thrusted me into the championship and then unfortunately got hurt in this same week. So there's also a little bit of fear. And hopefully, no deja vu. I pray on that. So Jason Dominguez, stay healthy and help us win some championships next week.
Yeah, this is an official pause the podcast moment. Go pick up Jason Dominguez and come back and finish listening to the podcast. As Matt said, huge difference maker. One of the coolest things about Dominguez and his progression across all 3 levels that he played in, not including the majors this year, hit over 300 at every level, showed off the power and the speed at every level. The plate discipline is looking okay with 22 walks to 50 strikeouts in the minors this year across those 3 levels for Jason Dominguez. Matt, you covered the Martian really well. I just don't really have much else to say besides, he hits him. He's going to be hitting one of the best lineups in all of baseball. He will be a fantasy force. I think he's going to jump up draft boards for next year with the call up here because the Yankees were kind of being on the fence if he was going to get the call or not. And now that he's here, and I think he's going to produce. Jason Dominguez is just here to stay, and just a good time to be a Yankee fan. So let's just move on. Let's move on to the next guy here. Let's move on to another super interesting name. Let's talk about Kumar Rocker of the Texas Rangers. And, since coming out of Vanderbilt, it's just been really just interesting for Mr. Kumar Rocker, ups and downs and injuries. And, he's finally finding his footing here, in the minors this season. He's just been very, very impressive. Just bear with me here as my computer, Matt, I think it's both of us over here today with the internet acting up. But Kumar Rocker at 24 years old now. I finally have it here in the minors, like I said, having a strong season through his 9 starts, 10 appearances, a 1.96 ERA, 36 innings pitched, 55 strikeouts, and an 0.7 whip. Just really, really, really good. And I feel like he's just been forgotten about in a lot of places. Not necessarily 100% to get the call up, but you know what? That Texas Rangers lineup, they're out of the playoffs. They don't really have much to play for at this point. If DeGrom, I know they want to get DeGrom back out there, but he's a guy that can go down in a heartbeat. Scherzer's really old. There's a way where they could just want to show this kid off for a cup of coffee. He could be a guy that has a chance at making the rotation next year. And him and Jack Leiter, I think, are 2 guys that this Texas Rangers team really wants to try and anchor their future rotation around. So, Kumar Rocker has had all the talent in the world since he was back in college, like I said, at Vanderbilt. I think there's a path for him to get the call up. I'm not banking on it, but just a name that even if you're in a dynasty league, keeper league where you keep a lot of guys, he might be out there. Actually should pull his ownership percentage too, because that's an interesting one. 4% on Yahoo, Kumar Rocker. I do love him. Very interesting name.
Yeah, what I like about him is he's in interesting territory, which kind of screams that he might get the call. Is he's in AAA, which most prospects in this scenario normally stay in A. And by prospects, let me phrase this as pitching prospects. Usually don't see AAA unless they're either trying to test the waters and see if they can handle the promotion, or they're going to be they want to just kind of just leave him down there and just see what they got because they're not really impressed. But the fact that he went from rookie ball left this year to then AA, not even single A, where he was getting lit up in rookie ball, I might add, he had like a 6.43 ERA, to dominating in AA through like 19 innings at a 0.46 ERA with 29 strikeouts. Then to get the next promotion to AAA, had a lovely 10 innings pitched with a 1.8 ERA and 18 strikeouts, which is bonkers. And he is just looking like a stud all around. So the fact that he's in AAA and has gotten promotions so quickly, there is a good inkling that I have, just a gut feeling that he can get the call this year because they are wanting to rush and see what they got for next year, because I don't think the Rangers have much of a this year left. So let's see what they got. Let's see what the rotation can look like and prep them and start making plans for next year. And this is the perfect time to do it. Kumar Rocker could get the call at any moment. So, keep an eye out. Not an ad right now, but, why not keep him on the watch list and set a couple alerts on a couple different applications? Let's sneak in this last guy here, Jackson Jobe. We've talked about him a whole bunch. Detroit Tigers. Ownership is not off the top of my head, but he is a fantastic pitching prospect for the Tigers. Kid has been showing out, should be getting the call. Honestly, I would be surprised if he doesn't get the call this year. 82 innings pitched, 89 strikeouts, a 1.96 ERA on the year with a 1.04 whip. Kid is an absolute animal. This is through A+ and AA. Again, I just talked about a pitcher that was in AAA, very surprising. Got the promotions quick. Again, with the same thing this year, A+ to AA. This is all the makings of a pitching prospect, especially of his capacity, a top 12 prospect that can get the call at any moment. So Jackson Jobe is another guy. keep right here. He gets the call. You're going to want to add him.
Yeah, Matt, as you mentioned, Jobe is somebody that we've talked about a lot. The top pitching prospect in all of baseball, the number 8 overall prospect according to MLB.com. I think him and Tarek Skubal are going to be a huge 1-2 punch, for a long time to come here for that Tigers rotation. If he does get the call, it's an instant call up. Jackson Jobe is 9% owned on Yahoo, but just has really great stuff. Not really too much else to add because we've talked about him so much. But we have a bunch more great names, huge prospects that can make an impact for your fantasy baseball championship run coming up next.
Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace for the MLB, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time app actually go down as you get closer to the first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in-one pricings, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets for MLB games. Last-minute ticket deals save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals, which are pretty sweet, save even more when you choose the section on the Game Time. Choose the seat for you. Sometimes it pans out. All-in-one pricing. Toggle through this feature and shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout, which always are like bummers when you're getting it because, I thought it was only going to cost about $300 to go to the Giant game. It's like $475 because of hidden fees. So no thank you. They offer views from your seat, so you get a panoramic view from your seat before you even buy. You make sure that pole is not in your way. The lowest price guaranteed or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time's ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets this season with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms again apply. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion as the season unfolds. Rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call notifications, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. You get a free 2 weeks, and there's only about 2 weeks left in the season, so take advantage of it. Don't want to miss out on these prospects getting called up. And the best part is, the offseason is literally, this is sad, around the corner for us as fantasy members. And you're not going to want to miss out on our rankings and all our early stuff to get you already in shape for the new season. So, yes, you're worried about this championship, but in another week, we're worried about next year's championship. Don't fall behind. Stay in tune and join the Diamond Club. And I promise we'll have you ready and get another belt or another ring in 2025. All right. That was a lot. Dom, that is all you, my friend. You're muted, my friend.
Yeah, yes, great job. That's on me there. But you always do a bang up job, brother, and I always appreciate it. But let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about another great pitching prospect. Let's talk about Quinn Matthews. Quinn Matthews has actually been one of the biggest risers in as far as pitching prospects go this year. He's up to the 85th overall prospect in all of baseball. He pitches for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals have always been at least somewhat decent with their pitching prospects, and I don't think Quinn Matthews is going to be an exception to that. Quinn Matthews is a big lefty, 6'5", 188 pounds. I think he needs to put a little bit more muscle on that frame. Does top out about 97 miles an hour, which actually has been increasing, over the past couple of seasons. On the year, Quinn Matthews has made 24 starts, a 2.47 ERA, 134 innings to 193 strikeouts. Batters have hit 173 against him this season, and he has a 0.93 whip. the innings have gone down as he's gone to AAA. His last 2 starts, he's only pitched 4 innings in each of those. He gave up 2 and 3 runs respectively. So kind of taking a little bit step back, but I think he's just tiring out. Hasn't really thrown this many innings before. So, I think that has to do with it. But he's a guy that if we do see him get that cup of coffee, I'm going to be adding him where I can. The Cardinals, like I said, aren't really, all that great at the moment. But you know what? If a kid like this gets the chance, where big strikeout numbers, look at Rhett Lauder, who got called up recently for the Reds. He's been successful. So I think, when you see these guys at least get the call, you want to give them a shot. Not all of them are going to be super successful, but a guy that has a good fastball, and he also has a changeup that's pretty good too, has a lot of break to it, and he has a good curveball. Gets a lot of whiffs on that one too. So he's got multiple pitches that he's been successful with. Just Quinn Matthews is somebody that I like going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I like Quinn Matthews just as much as you do, truthfully. My thing is just, do they check out and see what they have, or do they just keep doing the disservice to the team that they constantly do?
I wouldn't be shocked at this point the way the Cardinals have been the past couple seasons.
Yeah, which is wild too, because they've made all the moves to be better, and then it's just kind of blown up in their face.
Yeah.
So, let's see what they could do. I mean, maybe they don't rush this guy because they rushed Jordan Walker, but ultimately there's a world of possibility of it. So just keep him in the back of your mind, because if he does get the call, he might have a fantasy impact almost instantly. But this next guy here, this guy Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox, honestly could be an instant contributor. He's another one you need to keep an eye on. I'm a big fan. Dom beat him to me in our Dynasty League this year. Screw you.
And then I traded him.
You suck. I love this kid. He really has even taken a step forward this year from last year. I'm going to read the total and then I'll kind of break it down. But so 486 at bats, plate appearances, 417 at bats. He had 82 runs. He had 28 doubles, 4 triples, 18 bombs, 58 ribs, 19 stolen bases. 62 walks, 116 strikeouts, batted 285, a 379 OBP, a 501 slug, an 880 OPS. On top of that, this is where I really like and why I could see him getting the call. And it's just a cup of coffee. I think next year his true breakout year, we're going to be targeting him everywhere. But he went from Double-A, where he was, faring pretty well, had 15 home runs, had a batting 269. They decided to promote him, and this is the part that I like about it, right? 94 at bats. 22 runs, 8 doubles, a triple, 3 bombs, 13 ribs, 3 stolen bases, 14 walks to 20 strikeouts, batting 340 through this short period of time, a 418 OBP, and a slug of 543. Normally what happens when you see a hitting prospect get the promotion, you see them kind of take a step back. They have to adjust. Obviously, there's a lot better, lot more talent in AAA, right? With pitchers, it's about 50-50, but the rest of the talent out in that league is pretty veteran in comparison. Roman Anthony's 20 years old. For him to take the step forward in AAA screams, hey, I might get the call. Boston needs a little jolt up their booty to get going a little bit. So Roman Anthony might be the little plug to get him going. And if Roman Anthony gets a call at 4% owned, he's going to be out there and he could be a difference maker as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Jason Dominguez-esque performance from him like that we saw that 1 week last year. He has the same kind of, honestly, tools, and just on a team I don't like. Sorry, Boston fans. But Roman Anthony is a smash ad if he gets the call.
Yeah, he's the number 14 overall prospect, according to MLB.com, for a reason. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Roman Anthony just is everything that you want to see in a hitting prospect. I agree with everything Matt said. Really don't have too much to add, except, like the power speed combo on the kid. I think he's going to have a home in Boston for a while. Honestly, he's only an injury away. He's a Tyler O'Neill injury away, honestly, from getting that cup of coffee. And those Tyler O'Neill injuries come in bunches. So I wouldn't be shocked if we do see Roman Anthony, as Matt said as well. With that being said, we have a handful of more some pitching prospects, some hitting prospects to get through the rest of this episode. But those names are coming up next. And guys, you've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV Base Plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And guys, what a great offer this is, especially with that amazing first weekend of football. I know everyone's excited, so am I. So check that out with FanDuel. And all right, Matt, let's keep things pushing here. I don't know if you have this next guy queued up or not.
I do. I'm ready to rock.
If you do run for it, go for it, my brother.
All right. Bubba Chandler, the big Bubba himself. And honestly, I'd be scared if I was the guy going getting Bubba not even in the jail cell, but going up against me on the mound. Dude is interesting. You know, I like him as a whole. I'm going to read his total stats, then we'll kind of break it down, right? So, he has pitched 108 innings pitched across AA and AAA. He has 130 strikeouts. He has an ERA of 3.24, a WHIP of 101. Okay, I like all those aspects of his game. And on top of that, we look at it, and he's got the promotion this year from, AA to AAA, and he actually improved. Another guy that I like, there's better bats in AAA than there is in AA, obviously. Normally, like I was saying earlier in the show, you don't really get promoted to AAA unless they want to see what you can do. It's kind of more of an experiment. Normally you just get the call up from AA, but he's in there and he's dominating, funny enough. So through 28 innings pitched, he has a 1.93 ERA, 36 strikeouts, and a 103 WHIP. He's really handling himself quite well. I'm enjoying, seeing the stat line and seeing him improve. It's kind of wild too, just the possibilities of what Bubba Chandler can be. Him in Pittsburgh, they need each other. I feel, Paul Skeens is fantastic. Keller has been performing on and off all year, but they need somebody that can, stay healthy. Cough, cough, Jones. So Bubba could come up here and be the big Bubba and slip it in real unfortunate on all the other teams. So I like big Bubba, and you know what? He gets the call. I'm going to consider, depending on the matchup, starting him. So he's a name you want to keep up here because of the potential. And if there is a good matchup coming his way, like, I don't know, like the White Sox, Bubba is going to be real big Bubba that night.
Yeah, man, I'm a fan of Bubba Chandler too, and I think Skeens, Chandler, Jones, and maybe Mr. Ortiz there too, if he can figure it out, is a nice rotation. And Mitch Keller actually winds up being the veteran there too, so that's actually a strong five that I think the Pittsburgh Pirates can roll with next year. And Bubba Chandler on the year has been really strong with the 3.24 ERA through his 21 starts. 108 innings pitched, 130 strikeouts, and batters hitting 188 against him this year at a 102 WHIP. Really love that. He's just an example of progress. Isn't always linear with prospects, that he took a step back last year, takes another step forward again this year. So talent usually always prevails for the most part. Pitching prospects are tough, but with a guy that has a good fastball like Bubba Chandler, a good slider, overall just a really good pitching prospect, has a good frame, 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm excited if Bubba Chandler does get the call this year. There is room in that Pirates rotation. I'll be adding him. Let's move on to this next guy, though. And real quick, Bubba Chandler's the 41st overall prospect in all of baseball. But let's move on to somebody who's a lot higher up the list than that, and it's Mr. Walker Jenkins of those Minnesota Twins. 6'3", 210. 60 grade hit tool, 60 grade power tool, even a plus run tool for Mr. Walker Jenkins. On the year, he's batting 293, and that is across 3 levels: rookie ball, high A, and low A. Has been solid through the 76 games, as I mentioned, that 293 batting average, 48 runs, 21 doubles, 4 triples, 6 homers, 57 RBIs. Love this stat. For a young guy like this, 53 walks to 43 strikeouts, and add 15 steals into his line as well. He's only 19, a 19-year-old performing at this well. It's just really fun to see. I will say this, as we're getting towards the end of this list, I don't think Jenkins is going to get the call this year, but he's a name to look out for. He's a name that you want to have in the back of your head when you're making your list next year. Who's a good sleeper pick? Walker Jenkins could have a crazy good spring training and, want to make this Twins team that could potentially be in contention next year if all their pitchers and everyone gets healthy. Just a name that you definitely have to have in the back of your minds, because being the number 4 overall prospect according to MLB.com, Walker Jenkins, I think, has a very, very bright future ahead of him don't forget the name.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world and a way. We've seen guys like Shangle kind
It's
of push their
possible.
way in, and again, you know, Juan Soto is another example of it. Not comparing the two whatsoever, but Jenkins could
Yeah,
thrust
he's
him way in
talented.
there. So I mean, it's just a matter of how aggressive they feel like being. Honestly, I mean, there's no real incentive from a team standpoint, but who knows? I think it's more of a next year play, like Dom said, but we'll see. But anyway, let's move on to somebody that's probably a little bit more on the relevant side, and that's James Triantos, I believe is how it said.
Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, wow, I'm impressed with myself. My reading
Me
level has
too.
gone up.
That was spot on.
Nice. Very impressed. All right. So here's the deal. He plays for the Chicago Cubs. Got promoted to AAA pretty recently. Only has about 86 at bats in there. But the total numbers on the season actually are pretty good. You know, 443 at bats, 74 runs, 23 doubles, 6 triples, 7 bombs, 52 ribs, 47 stolen bases, 27 walks to 54 strikeouts, batting 300, a 346 OBP, a 427 slug, and an OPS of 70-73. So there's some positive things to him and there's some negative things to him. And the negative things are he really just doesn't hit for power. Can he develop at a 21-year-old and a guy that stands, 5'11 to 195 pounds? Maybe. Not promising with the height and weight, but who knows? But the speed is legit. Pretty fast guy, obviously with 47 stolen bases, and is performing with the promotion to AAA of late with that 94 at bats. He's batting 302 and 300 in AA. So things just stayed consistent with this dude. He is legit. He has plate discipline and all. So if he gets the call, he is the perfect Nico Horner replacement. Even has second base and third base and center field eligibility so far. So if Triantos does get the call, it's going to be interesting, and you're perfect Nico Horner replacement.
Matt, I'll tell you, I think I have a really, really good comp here for Mr. Triantos. Reminds me of Jarren Duran. When you look at those numbers, very, very similar numbers that we saw Jarren Duran put up in his minor league career. And look at the kid now; he's an all-star. So I think James Triantos has that kind of profile. That Cubs team is good. They have a lot of really good bats in that lineup. So I think it's maybe an injury or two away for Mr. Triantos, and we really could see that call, very, very soon. Let's keep things pushing here. Somebody we've talked about in the past couple of weeks. I thought he would have gotten a call by now if he was going to. That's Christian Moore of those Los Angeles Angels, the 80th ranked prospect according to MLB.com, and he's still raking. Last time we checked in on him, he was raking. Checking in on him again, still doing it. 414 batting average in 14 games. I know it's a small sample size, but you know what? A kid that just got drafted, 21 years old, to just be, playing this good. And it's awesome. You know what team he's playing for down there, Matt? He's playing for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, one of the best team names in all of the minor leagues. But this kid is nothing but trash. So far, I mentioned the 414 batting average, 18 runs through 14 games, over a run per game, which is wild. 3 doubles, 6 homers, 13 RBIs, 6 walks to 15 strikeouts, no steals. The kid is more known for the power. He can steal a bag here or there. It's more about the want to do it when it comes to Christian Moore. Plays second base. And honestly, he could be a kid that still gets a cup of coffee. It really could happen for the Angels. You never really know what they're doing or, how the minds work up there with that team. But we could see it. I think worst case scenario, another kid that's going to be fighting for a job in spring training next year. Don't forget the name Christian Moore, Los Angeles Angels second baseman prospect.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world of possibility. I mean, this is the same team that brought up Nolan Shangle only like 4 months after drafting him. They promoted him all the way from rookie ball all the way to AA, and you look at how Moore is looking in. He didn't even touch rookie ball. He just went A to AA. So I mean, yeah, he could. I mean, the kid is raking, and they need to put butts in the seats because that team is just atrocious and probably is a negative earner right now. So to bring up the future kind of just needs to happen. Christian Moore, we'll see what happens. I like him if he does get the call. But let's move on to this last guy here, Thomas White of the Miami Marlins. And, he's not a guy I'm very familiar with, but, a pitching prospect as is, has been on A and A plus this year, 34 innings in A, 62 innings in A plus, over the total season, 96 innings pitched, 120 strikeouts, a 3.19 ERA with a 1.31 ERA. But, with a young dude being literally 19 years old, pretty much like, freshly drafted as well. He's looking real good because one, you're putting up those kind of, innings pitched this year. And then on top of that, the strikeout numbers, being able to convert. And then you look at just the improvement going from A to A plus, which is a little bit better talent. You went from a 3.18 ERA to a 2.61 ERA. Walks came down exponentially, had a 1.588 in A plus, an A, now an A plus, a 1.16. Like, let's go. Like, you're making movements, you're making strides, and things that you want to see out of a pitching prospect at the end of the day. Now, if he gets another promotion next year, which I don't think this kid is going to get the call, it'd be stupid. But next year he's a guy you want to keep an eye on because this is a kind of prospect where he could just move on up the team's prospect rankings and get the calls in a need. So keep an eye on Thomas White and just enjoy.
Yeah, he's a young developing guy. So the control is something that Thomas White is still working on. I think that's going to be the final piece of the puzzle for Mr. Thomas White. Miami's been always very good with starting pitching prospects, especially over the last few years. So he's somebody that I'm a big fan of. I will say this, Matt, if I asked you to name the Miami Marlins rotation, how many guys could you actually name? Because I'll be honest, I couldn't do it. There's no way I'd be able to name more than one of these guys that are currently in the Miami Marlins rotation. This is the reason I put Thomas White on the episode. Not too much of a serious question, but it takes a second. So real quick, the one guy that we all most of us should know is Edward Cabrera. After that, we have Valente Balazzo, Adam Oller, and Darren McCoggan. And I'm sorry if I pronounced any of those gentlemen's name wrong. It's just I'm not super familiar with them. So the rotation there, could use a little bit of boost down the stretch. Thomas White is somebody that we could see. But you know what? With that being said, Matt, unless you have anything to add.
No, Miami sucks. That's all I did.
So, guys, with that being said, guys, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Just wanted to throw some potential names there that can get the call up for you. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. A shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. After you do that, make Sully over at Locked On MLB your second listen each and every day. Great content over there. Covers the league in a different way than we do. Puts more of a regular take on it as we put our fantasy spin on it. But make sure you lock on for tomorrow's episode where we're going to help you win a Locked On Fantasy Baseball championship. So, guys, see you then.
Peace.